All right, guys. So today we're gonna have a conversation about the Blue Book, and the Blue Book is a matter of learning about the concepts. I'm gonna break down to you guys how to describe the concepts without the book. If you ever forgot your book, how do you go about having this conversation with somebody? Now, this requires you to continue reading and reading and reading your book over and over and over again, but not just reading it to memorize it, but read it to understand it. So I think that's one of the most thing that I'm going to focus on today. So one of the things that people always say, well, why do we do what we do? And I always tell people that the reason why we do what we do is because there was a recent survey, right, which is on page 1, if you're following along. On page 1, there was a recent survey that was conducted for 2 countries, in Canada and the US. And for the US, they said that the picture is even gloomier. They said that 33% or 77 million Americans don't pay their bills on time. And then they said that 39% carry credit card debts from month to month, and only 59% of adults say they have savings. And they said worse, more than half now think it's acceptable to default their mortgage if they can't afford to pay it. So that's the reason why we are on this national campaign to help families move from that situation. So one of the things, actually 4 things we're going to talk about today. 4 things. The 4 things we're going to talk about today is the fact that we want to teach families how to, one, make money. We want to teach families how to make money. We want to teach families how to save money. And we also want to teach families how to grow their money, right? But even better, we want to teach families how to protect. We want to teach families how to protect their money. Now, these are the 4 things that I think every family finds very important and they want to learn how to do. So that's the reason why we take the time to teach families these 4 components. Now, the way we teach families is by them understanding how to build a financial foundation, right? So every foundation, think about this. Every foundation that you build is like a house. Don't make fun of my house now. It's like a house. And each house have the foundation. Now, what is the foundation? In your financial foundation, the first thing you got to build, obviously, is what? The floor. So the floor in this case is protection. If you look on page 6, it tells you right there. Protection. You see, the first thing you should do is make sure you put in place proper protection. This proper protection will prevent your family from encountering, oh man, the unexpected as far as dying, how to replace your income, your long-term care. That way you have something for disability, the right health plan for if you get sick, your estate planning, so that way your money is protected to the next heirs that come. Then the next thing as far as building your financial foundation, you want to make sure that you manage your debt. You want to manage your debt or eliminate it. So I'm going to put an X here and circle it. You want to have no debt. You should actually reduce your liability and get out of debt as quick as possible. You want to do that. You want to make sure that you're debt free. And that's the next thing that we help families to do. The next thing on the financial foundation, we teach families how to create an emergency fund. You need to have at least $100K put away in the bank for emergency, or better yet, 3 to 6 months. You need to have 3 to 6 months of your income saved away for the unexpected. Anything like repairs, an accident for your job or your business. And then last but not least, give me a second, some alarm going off. All right. So last but not least, the next thing on your financial foundation is investment. Now you're in a position to invest. But even when you're ready to invest, where do you put your money? Because here's what happened. If you don't build your house this way up, most of the time, people start here. They start here and start putting their money to go to invest. Now you put that money away and an emergency happened. You don't have the emergency money, so then you use your credit cards, right? CC, credit cards. By using the credit card, that then forces you to then go into debt. And once you're in debt, you have no money to put together the proper protection that you need to have in place. This is the reason why it's important for us to teach you how to create a financial foundation. So now, even when you're creating a financial foundation and you understand the concept of idea of protection, debt, and emergency fund, then you invest, but you got to still learn how money works. So the next thing I'm going to talk about, you got to understand, right? You got to understand money. You know, back in Jamaica, they used to say, you need to overstand. You got to understand it, then overstand it some more. So today we're going to talk about what is known as the wealth formula, right? What is the wealth formula? See, the wealth formula conducts a certain guide. It's a guide for you to understand how to put certain things in place. The first thing you must put in place, you must know on the wealth formula, number one on the wealth formula is something called money. Yes, it takes money to make money. All right? Number two, we have something called time. And then you have number three, something called the rate of return. When you hear the word rate of return, please put a note in your book, the word interest. Anytime you hear a word of return, it represents the word named interest. Number four, it also represents, in the wealth formula, you need to know about inflation. And then, number five, you must know about taxes. And number six, everything after you understand all of this, it equals wealth. But you must understand what wealth is. You see, one of the things is this. If I was to tell you that every one of you right now is very wealthy, if you look on page 7, we'll talk about the wealth formula. On page 7, it says that money plus time plus or minus rate of return minus inflation minus taxes equal wealth. Now, what does this mean? That's the reason why it's important for us to have money talks with families, right? It's very, very important for us to have these money talks with families. You see, one of the money talk is that we're always saying that, where's the money? And as you see on page 7, it says Warren Buffett advised us to do what? Save first, then spend what is left afterwards, right? But most of the time what we do, we actually spend and then we try to save afterwards. That's the wrong way to go about building wealth. So now when it comes to the wealth formula, let's turn to page 8 because the first thing we got to figure out is the money part. Now, based on page 8, on the very top, it says you need to what? Pay yourself first. So you got to pay self first. All right? Now, this is the part where people always ask me, well, Keon, how much money should I save? No, it's not a matter of asking me. You just got to know what is the percentage-wise. Now, based upon the book and based upon the understanding, you need to save at least 5 to 10% of your income or 15% or more, right? 15% or more. But on top of that, in order for you to get to that place where you can save 50% or more, you got to start treating yourself like a bill. So that way you can pay first because that's your family's financial bill. You telling me your cable TV is more important than your family's financial well-being? See, this is the reason why we got to make small changes if we want to have big money. It's important for us to understand that. Because when you make these small changes, you see, saving is a habit and so is spending. What if you could actually start saving $10 a day? $10 a day, that's $300 a month. Did you know if you was to save, imagine this, If you save your $10 a day, right, which equals 300 a month, that 300 a month in 30 years, just getting 8% interest on that money, you would have $447 plus $1,000 saved up. What if you were able to save $20 a day? $20 a day, or that would be $600 a month. And just in 30 years, you would have $894 plus $1,000 saved up. See, we all could be close to saving up millions of dollars. And that's why it's important for the wealth formula for you to start putting away 5 to 10%. Now, one of the things that people say is time. How does time work with this? Well, based upon the amount of money that you save, you got to know about how to catch up with time with using below right here, something called the rate of return. So now if you turn to page 11, on page 11, it talks about the rule of 72, right? It talks about the rate of return, magic of compound interest. Now, just so you guys know, there's a difference between compound interest and simple interest, all right? But let's talk about the rate of return. It says that the rule of 72, right? The rule of 72, let me give you a little history. The rule of 72 was created by Albert Einstein. And Albert Einstein said that if you take 72, you divide it by whatever interest you get on your money, that will equal the amount of years it takes for your money to double. So based upon this rule, the rule of 72 said if you take 72, you divide it by the whatever interest you get on your money, that equal years it takes for the money to double. So let's just give you an example. As you see on page 11, it gives you 3 examples of if you had $10,000 to put away. Now, let's think about it. Imagine you had that $10,000 to put away, and you was able to get 4% on it. 72 divided by 4, that means money is doubling every 18 years. So you are 29 years old, you put away that $10,000 one time. By the time you reach the age 65, right, you'd only have $40,000 because that money was only able to double every 18 years. Now, what if you was able to find your place where you could get actually 8% interest on your money? 72 divided by 8 equals 9, money doubling every 9 years. Now you're in a position where that money is actually accumulating a lot of compound effect and doubling. So by the time from 29, you're 10,000. By 65, you have $160,000. But now, let's say that you was able to find 12%. You was finding 12%. 72 divided by 12, now that money doubling every 6 years. Now from 29 to 65, that money would have grown to over $640,000. Now you may look at this and say, wow, what interest should you choose? Well, yes, obviously you would choose the 12%, right? Because the difference between your $10,000 at a 4% versus a 12% is actually $600,000. So it's not really so much what money you save, but it's really the interest upon the money that really matters. But better yet, what kind of interest you get on your money that really counts? Is it simple interest or compound interest? Something I will tell you to continue reading on that subject on page 13. Now, the next thing, let's turn to page 14, inflation. Now, when you think of the word inflation, I want you to remember a word called silent killer. Man, this thing is like the carbon dioxide. Can't see it, can't smell it, but it'll kill you. Inflation. Now, why inflation is? What is inflation? I'll give you an example. When I was in the middle school, I used to go to McDonald's and I would say, hey, I would have $1 with me. And I used to say, let me get a cheeseburger. I would get a penny back. The next couple of years, I went back like my freshman year. And I would go and buy the same cheeseburger that I bought when I was in middle school. And then he would tell me it was $1.07. I looked at the guy, I said, I have $1. How something on $1 menu is now $1.07? He said it was because it was taxes. Taxes have gone up since. And I looked at that and I said, taxes? Oh, so that's how it works. Taxes gone up. Well, he was kind of right, but I don't think he understood himself what inflation was. That was actually inflation, because inflation is the price services of goods, right, have gone up over the years. Now, why that happened is because when a country prints more money than it actually earns, everybody lose value of the money. That's why some people said that inflation is considered to be like the hidden taxes. So this is a very important component to know about and how to plan about your future when it comes down to inflation. Now, here's another thing. Did you know from 1914, right, to 2014, the inflation rate averaged at 3.32%. All right? That's what it averaged at. Now, what does that mean for your money? Now, if you look in the blue box, it tells you right there. Say that you had $100, right? And over a 5-year period, that $100 will lose some form of buying power. You notice that your $100 only have a buying power of $86. And for it to equal to $100, it has to have $116. Now, let's come down a little bit. Let's go fast forward 20 years in. 20 years in, your $100 only have a buying power of only $55. But if you look at it, for it to equal to $100 buying power, it will require it to have $181, almost $200. So if you still don't understand what that means, let's break it down some more. Let's talk about in terms of retirement, right? Say you want to retire today. At a $4,000, you want to have come in on a monthly income in today's value. Did you know just 20 years later, at a 3% inflation rate, all right, you would need to have 20 years later $7,224 in order to have the same power, buying power, as your $4,000 coming in on a monthly basis in today's value. The question is, do you think you need to be saving more and spending less? Because if you don't, are you prepared for what inflation is going to mean for your money? Are you prepared to plan for this silent killer of your money? Now, let's turn to page 17. All right, let's have a money talk. On page 17, we're going to talk about taxes. Now, the thing about taxes is that there's 3 ways. All right, remember this. 3 ways your money get taxed when you need it. Your money get taxed now, which is also known as taxable money. Then your money get taxed later, which is also known as tax deferred. Then you have something called tax advantage, which is also known as never. Very simple to remember, right? So now, one of the things that you got to know is, where is your money being taxed? Now, on the example there on page 17, if you look in tax now, did you know that 85, I want you to write a big 85%. 85% of the population put their money in tax now. You don't believe me? Think about how many of you guys, where you put your money. How many of you can say yes? Just comment yes right now if you have your money in any of these vehicles. Do you have your money in a checking, a savings, CDs, stocks, mutual funds? If you could answer yes to that, then welcome to part of the 85%. How about this one? Let's talk about the next one, tax later. Now, what does tax later mean? Tax later means that 10% of the working force, 10% of the working force use these vehicles at what we call tax later, and they use them as a retirement savings account. Now, let's see if you're part of the 10%ers too. Now, you get taxed later in your 401k, 403bs, IRA, SEP IRAs, annuities, and pensions, right? So right there, if you add it up, you have 95% of your money in taxable vehicles. Now, let's see. Now, here's the quick question, the good question now. How many of you is part of the tax advantage? How many of you use things like a Roth IRA? How many of you use a 529 college savings plan? How many of you use municipal bonds? How many of you use health savings account? How many of you use long-term care? How many of you use life insurance, right? These are all tax advantages. Now, that will put you in the 5%er bracket, right? Now, this is the bracket that is not overcrowded. It's actually looked over, and this is where most of the wealthy people have put their money and definitely save for the future. Now, let me give you a little example of what this means. See, when it comes to tax now means that any earning in these accounts must report and pay taxes at the end of the year. And they give you something what's called a 1099, which you got to report to your tax preparer and give them to show them that any dividends that was grown in your savings, CD, stocks, or mutual funds, any money that was made, and some people call it capital gains, you must report that every year to the tax by the taxman, aka IRS, Uncle Sam. Also, tax later. Tax later where 10% of the working force put their money. What does that mean? Now, tax later means that the money you put in is pre-tax, and pre-tax money that is deposited in the account is money that you didn't pay taxes on yet. But you will definitely report and pay taxes later when you withdraw the money. These accounts are also known as tax deferred. Now, here's how it works. So now, let me make a little room here. I want you to remember 3 age group. There's one called 59 and a half, and then there's also one called 70 and a half. I'm going to get into both of those age groups. Matter of fact, I write it down here. All right? So let's talk about 59 and a half, and then let's talk about 70 and a half. Now, 59 and a half for tax later vehicles. 59 and a half is the year or the age that is okay for you to start taking money. But if you take this money before 59 and a half, you'll be subject to pay a 10% penalty. So that's a negative 10% on your money plus taxes. Okay? You'll be paying a 10% penalty if you touch it before 59 and a half plus taxes. Now, here's another thing. Another thing is this. If you do wait to take it by 59 and a half, just know that all withdrawal from these accounts will be considered as taxed as ordinary income. They'll be taxed as ordinary income. Okay? So that means even when you're 60, you're still getting taxed as if you're still working, ordinary income. Now, if you fail to take the money out, by the time you reach 70 and a half, you forgot to, you will lose 50% of your value. So that means if you had 100,000 saved up in here, you will lose 50%. 50% is gone, which means that you only have $50,000. Okay? Because you failed to take out what is known as RMD, also known as required minimum distribution. You failed to take out the required minimum distribution. All right? So always remember that when it comes down to your retirement plans. The next thing is tax later. Tax advantage. Tax advantage means that the money you put in generally don't get taxed because you already pay taxes on it. So pretty much there are vehicles like I mentioned, like the Roth IRA, life insurance, long-term care that get these advantages as far as the money. So the question that I would love to ask you, and I'd love for you to comment right in the bottom, how would you want to be taxed on your money? Do you want to pay taxes every year where it's taxable or taxed now, like the 85% of the population do? Or you want to do what 10% of the working force does, where they get taxed later, which means that they pay taxes later on? Or you want to have tax advantages, right? That's what it really comes down to. We must understand taxes because, once again, it's part of the wealth formula. So now let's turn to page 21. Page 21. Let's summarize the wealth formula, right? On page 21, one of the biggest things that you're probably asking yourself is this. Can I build wealth? Can I build wealth? My big fat answer to you is yes, you can if you follow the guide. Wealthy people don't get rich by accident. They know how to follow a guide. And by following the guide, they're able to put certain things in place. Now, wealth requires you to be disciplined. So when you think about the wealth formula, money, when it comes to money, guys, you got to save. You got to save more and spend less. When it comes to time, you got to leave your money in the accounts. You got to leave money in the accounts long enough for it to do what? Compound. All right? You got to leave your money in there for it to compound. Key word. So that way the money could double up over time. The rate of return, man, put very important. It is very, very important. Very. Very, very important. Please. The right kind of interest on your money is where it's really at. You know, they always said that. Remember growing up, our parents say, it's not how much you earn, but it's what you keep. Wrong. It's not just that. But it's also, it doesn't matter how much you earn, right? Or even how much you keep. But it's really the amount of interest that you're getting on what you keep that really matters. And as far as for inflation, you better be earning an interest. You got to earn an interest higher than what the inflation rate is. So if you put your money in a bank where it's giving you less than 1%, you're not earning enough money on your interest to keep up with inflation. They said that you need at least a minimum of 5% or higher on your money to keep up with inflation and taxes. And then when it comes to taxes, you must start looking for vehicles that give you tax advantage. Now, the result of you doing this is what will require or what will equal to you is known as wealth. All right? That's the way how you build wealth. So now if you look on page 78, I'm going to give you a quick quiz. Right? It's a quick quiz. Because I want to know how much of a superstar you guys are. And I just want you guys to comment yes or no. Right? Now, the quick quiz I'm going to ask you is, number one, wherever you're putting your money right now, can you say that your money can have growth potential there? Number one, wherever you're putting your money right now, do your money have growth potential wherever you're saving right now? Answer yes or no, please. Now, when you answer, just say one yes or one no, right? Number two, wherever you're putting your money and you're saving your money. Number two, is your money safe? Would you consider your money safe? Number two. Two is a yes or no, right? And then number three. Number three. Does your money have tax advantage? Now that you understand what tax advantage is. Number three. Yes or no? Do you have tax advantage on your money when you need it? And last, number four. Does your money provide protection? And when we talk about protection, we talk about protection against lawsuits. Does your money have protection against garnishments? When we talk about protection, does your money income, does it protect your income from disappearing if, God forbid, you pass away? Is your money protected against taxes? Like inheritance, like estate taxes? Right? And there's a list of more things. Right? But is your money protected against some of the basic things so far? Now, if you cannot answer yes, 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 yes to all four of these questions, that's the reason why we always got to have a money talk. That's the reason why. Now, one of the most important things also, if you look on the very bottom on page 78, it talks about a formula that's called the 10-20 formula. And just to summarize what this formula is, this formula is a guide to help you know what to have in place. Just to summarize everything, 10 times your income You need to have 10 times your income in life insurance. You need to have 10 times your income in life insurance. Why? If you make $50,000 a year, you need to have 10 times that amount, which is $500,000. Why is that? It's to make sure that your income doesn't disappear if you have someone that's dependent on you, or if you have outstanding debts and stuff like that. You don't want to make sure that you cover yourself. Now, as far as planning for your future, you're going to need 20 times your income to have a comfortable retirement. So what that means is this. If you make the same $50,000 a year, 20 times that is about what? $1 million. So my question to you is, are you on track to have $1 million saved up towards your retirement? And how is it going to be taxed? Does it have growth potential? All these things are important. This is the reason why we educate you and we teach you about how to plan for the future and how to prepare for these things. Now, the great news about it, guys, is that we have good news. The good news is that we provide, I'm going to write the word free here. So everything I'm going to tell you right now, we provide for free. We provide workshops, 5 series workshops that give you access to learn about how to increase your cash flow, how to manage your debt. We'll give you in workshop 2, how to build a proper financial foundation and all these things. Workshop 3, you're going to learn about how wealth growth, how asset accumulates. Workshop 4, you're going to learn about retirement planning and wealth preservation. And workshop 5, you get to learn even about how to put together, how to build a business in the financial industry. On top of that, we also provide a free financial checkups. On top of that, we provide free coaching. On top of that, we just ask you to just pay attention. That's the only thing you got to pay. That's all we ask you to do is pay attention. And that's what our program does. And we do all of this for free because we're on a national campaign right now. And our goal is to educate 1 million families about, we want to educate 1 million families about finance. So that's why we've always expanded and looking for more campaigners to help us on this. So if you know somebody and you want to be a part of this campaign to not only just educate yourself, but also be in a position where you can educate others, we're looking for more people like that. So thank you. I appreciate you all. If you have any questions, this is the moment for me to answer those. If you have any comments, comment below and I'll read them. And if you feel that this was easy, let us know as well. All right?